Welcome to the Deep Dive. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps this channel. Today, we're diving into a case that just won't quit. The Elisa Lam mystery. You probably know the basics. Young woman, traveling alone, vanishes in L.A., ends up in a rooftop water tank at the infamous Cecil Hotel. But we're going beyond the headlines. What makes this case stick in our minds after all these years?
It's a case that seems to defy explanation, doesn't it? On the surface, you have this seemingly open and shut accidental drowning. But then you dig a little deeper and you find all these unsettling details that just don't quite add up.
Exactly. Like, we're talking about a locked rooftop, a sealed water tank. How do those things happen by accident?
So for this deep dive, we've got police reports, witness testimonies, and of course that elevator footage. We're going to try and put the pieces together.
And what's fascinating to me is how Elisa's story intertwines with the Cecil Hotel's already grim reputation. It's almost as if the hotel itself is a magnet for tragedy.
Okay, so let's paint a picture of Elisa Lam for our listener. She wasn't just a name on a missing persons report. Right. Elisa was a 21-year-old Canadian student, loved to travel, and documented her adventures on her blog. From what we can gather, she was bright, creative, a bit of an introvert, but she was also open about her struggles with mental health, specifically bipolar disorder.
And this trip to California was supposed to be a break from university life, a chance to explore. Then she checks into the Cecil. Now, I know you could spend hours talking about this hotel's creepy history.
Yeah.
But for our listener, what are the highlights that really connect to Elisa's case?
Well, we have to remember, the Cecil has always been a bit of a budget option, attracting a transient crowd, but it's also had more than its fair share of darkness. Multiple suicides over the years, some guests jumping from windows. It housed notorious serial killers like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. During his sprint...
It's like something out of a true crime podcast cliche,
Yeah,
right?
it really is. And while the connection to the Black Dahlia case is unconfirmed, that association lingers in the public imagination. So, you have Elisa, a young woman with documented mental health struggles. Walking into this environment already steeped in tragedy and urban legend, it's hard not to feel that sense of foreboding.
Yeah, it sets a very particular stage. Okay, so Elisa checks in. Things seem normal at first.
Yeah.
Then on January 31st, 2013, she's supposed to check out, but...
She vanishes. No one can find her. Her family is frantic. They report her missing. Police launch an investigation. But for weeks, nothing.
And then comes February 14th. The LAPD releases security footage from the Cecil's elevator. Now, you've analyzed this footage countless times. What's your initial reaction when you see it?
Unease, definitely. And confusion. You see Elisa enter the elevator, but then her behavior becomes very erratic. She's pressing multiple buttons. The doors aren't closing. She's peering out into the hallway like she's hiding from someone. Then there are these strange hand gestures, almost like she's trying to signal someone.
Yeah.
Or some.
It's one of those things that's both fascinating and deeply disturbing, right? I mean, the internet exploded with theories the moment that footage was released.
Oh, absolutely. Was she having a psychotic episode? Was she being followed? Was it some kind of paranormal encounter? People were reading into every detail, every twitch, every flicker of the elevator lights.
And all this time, Elisa is still missing. Then comes February 19th. And the case takes another dark turn. Tell our listener what happens.
Guests at the Cecil start complaining about the water, low pressure, a strange taste. Some even say it's discolored. Maintenance goes up to check the rooftop water tanks, and that's where they find Elisa's body.
Floating in the water tank. It's such a almost cinematic detail, and it immediately throws the whole case into a new level of strangeness.
You have to remember, these tanks are large, heavy, with lids that are difficult to open and close. The roof itself is locked and alarmed. So how did Elisa get up there? And how did she end up inside a sealed water tank? It just defies easy explanation.
Which is why, even though the official cause of death was ruled accidental drowning, this case continues to spark debate. So, for our listener, let's lay out what we know for sure based on the evidence.
We know Elisa's clothes were found in the tank with her, but her cell phone was missing. The autopsy showed no signs of physical assault, no drugs or alcohol in her system, and the water tank itself, once drained, showed no signs of forced entry.
So, no obvious signs of foul play, but also a lot of things that just don't make sense. And that brings us to the heart of this deep dive. If it wasn't a straightforward accident, what are the other possibilities?
Well, you have to start with the theory that leans on Elisa's bipolar disorder. Manic episodes can involve risky behavior, impaired judgment. It's possible she had some kind of break with reality, wandered up to the roof in a confused state, and somehow fell into the tank.
But even if we grant that, the logistics are just so hard to grasp. Climbing into that tank, closing the lid. It feels like we're asking our listener to suspend their disbelief.
Right, and that's why, despite the official ruling, many people gravitate towards the murder theory. Someone intentionally harming Elisa, then staging it to look accidental.
Okay, let's unpack that. What kind of evidence or lack thereof would point in that direction?
It's more about the unanswered questions than direct evidence. Like the missing cell phone. If it was just a tragic accident, why wouldn't her phone be found with her belongings? Did it fall out of her pocket somewhere else? Was it taken deliberately?
And we know that Cecil had a history of violent crime. Is it possible someone with bad intentions was there at the same time as Elisa and saw an opportunity?
It's a possibility, especially given the hotel's transient nature, and sometimes lacks security. But we have to be careful with speculation. There's no evidence directly linking any other individual to Elisa's death.
So, murder is a theory that fits the something doesn't feel right vibe, but we don't have proof, which, I guess, is why some people go even further down the rabbit hole into the realm of the paranormal, right?
The elevator game is a popular one, of course. This Korean ritual supposedly allows you to travel to another dimension using an elevator. And people see Elisa's behavior in that footage. The button pressing, the peeking out, as mimicking the steps of the game.
It's hard not to see those parallels,
Yeah.
especially with the Cecil's spooky reputation. But for our listener who might not be familiar, how does this elevator game supposedly work?
Well, the instructions are specific, and supposedly if you don't follow them exactly, bad things can happen. You have to enter the elevator alone, press specific floor buttons in a certain sequence. And there's this whole thing about a woman who might join you on one of the floors. If she does, you're not supposed to talk to her. The goal is to reach a certain floor that's said to be a gateway to another dimension.
Okay, so even setting aside the question of whether other dimensions exist, it sounds like a recipe for getting lost in a very large building.
Exactly, and that's the thing with the elevator game theory. It relies on a lot of assumptions. We don't know if Elisa was intentionally trying to play this game, or if her actions were simply a result of her mental state. It's a creepy coincidence, for sure. But coincidence doesn't equal proof.
And then there's the conspiracy theory crowd who see Elisa's case as part of something much bigger.
Ah, yes. The M-Culture connection. This was a real CIA program back in the mid-20th century, exploring mind control and psychological manipulation. It's since become a catch-all for any conspiracy involving strange behavior or unexplained events.
So, the theory is that Elisa, somehow, was a victim of some present-day version of M-Culture, which would explain her erratic behavior. But even for those deep in the conspiracy world, wouldn't that be a stretch?
It would be a huge stretch. First, there's zero evidence Elisa was involved in any kind of government program. Second, as far as we know, M-Culture was shut down decades ago. It's more likely that people see what they want to see in this case, and M-Culture fits a pre-existing narrative.
Okay, so we've got accidental drowning, murder, a spooky ritual, and a government conspiracy. And yet, here we are, years later, still talking about Elisa Lam. Why does this case refuse to go away?
I think it's the perfect storm of unanswered questions and our human need to find patterns, to make sense of the senseless. You have this young woman traveling alone, and her death is surrounded by bizarre circumstances. It's like a real-life mystery novel where the ending is missing.
And that missing ending lets our imaginations run wild. We try to fill in the blanks, come up with scenarios that fit the few facts we have.
Exactly. Plus, the visuals are so potent, the elevator footage is unsettling, almost dreamlike. The image of Elisa's body being found in that water tank is something you don't easily forget. These things lodge themselves in our minds, and we keep revisiting them, trying to crack the code.
It's like our brains are wired to hate loose ends, right?
Right.
We want resolution, closure. And when a case like Elisa Lam's comes along, it throws our whole sense of order and predictability into question.
It's a reminder that sometimes things happen that we can't fully explain. And that, perhaps, is the most unsettling thing of all.
It feels like we've explored every nook and cranny of this case. And yet, there's still this lingering sense of unease, like we're missing a key piece of the puzzle.
It's true, and that's what keeps people coming back to Elisa Lam's story. The desire to make sense of the seemingly senseless. And maybe that's the point. Maybe some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved.
But doesn't that feel a bit, defeatist? I mean, are we saying that we should just give up?
Yeah.
And accept that we'll never know what really happened?
Not necessarily. It's more about acknowledging the limits of our knowledge. We can analyze the evidence, explore different theories, but sometimes the truth eludes us, and that's okay. The search for answers is just as valuable as the answers themselves.
I like that. It's about the journey, not just the destination. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say, hypothetically, there was a cover-up. What would be the motivation? Why would anyone go to such lengths to hide the truth about Elisa's death?
Well, if we're going down that road, we have to consider who would benefit from a cover-up. Could it be something as simple as protecting the reputation of the Cecil Hotel? They already had a notorious past, and another tragic death could have been disastrous for business. But that seems a bit flimsy, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it's one thing to try to downplay an incident, but to completely erase any evidence of foul play, that seems extreme. Unless there was something even more sinister going on, something that went beyond just protecting the hotel's image.
Now you're getting into the realm of true conspiracy. We're talking about powerful individuals or organizations with something to hide, maybe something connected to Elisa herself, something that made her a target. But again, we're venturing into speculation without any concrete evidence.
It's tempting, though, isn't it? To imagine there's this hidden layer to reality, this secret world operating just beneath the surface, and maybe, just maybe, Elisa Lam stumbled onto something she shouldn't have.
It's a compelling narrative, no doubt. And it's fueled by our distrust of institutions, our suspicion that we're not being told the whole story. But the danger is that we start seeing conspiracies everywhere, even where they don't exist. We have to be careful not to let our imaginations run away with us.
Agreed. It's all about balance, being open to possibilities, but also grounded in reality. So, after all this back and forth, all these twists and turns, what's the one thing you want our listener to take away from this deep dive? What's the enduring legacy of the Elisa Lam case?
I think it's a reminder that the world is a complex and often inexplicable place. There are mysteries out there that defy easy answers, and that's okay. We don't always need a neat and tidy resolution, sometimes. The questions themselves are more valuable than the answers.
And maybe it's a reminder to be kind to one another. Elisa was a real person, with her own struggles and aspirations. Her story deserves to be treated with respect, even as we try to unravel the mystery surrounding her death.
Absolutely. We can be curious, we can speculate, but we should never lose sight of the human element at the heart of this tragedy.
Well said. And for our listener, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to do your own research. Read the articles, watch the documentaries, explore the online forums, but approach it with a critical eye. And remember that not everything you read online is true.
And if you come across any new information, any intriguing theories, be sure to share them with us. We're always eager to hear new perspectives on this case.
And as always, please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps this channel. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep searching for the truth.